Monsanto, producing more, conserving more, improving lives. That's sustainable agriculture. Monsanto claims they're focused on finding solutions for issues faced in agriculture today. They say they have their eye on the future and are working on bringing innovative products to the market. They're working to double yields in their core crops by 2030. This comes from the combination of plant breeding, biotechnology, and improved farm management practices. Monsanto uses both breeding and biotechnology to produce the best seeds. They use it to give plants beneficial characteristics beyond what can be done with traditional breeding. In other words, Monsanto uses genetically modified organisms, also known as GMOs, in their products. GMOs are plants or animals that have been genetically engineered with DNA from bacteria, viruses, or other plants and animals. These experimental combinations of genes from different species do not naturally occur. This is supposed to make them more resistant to rain, drought, and pests. Up until now, these viruses and bacteria have never been part of the human food supply. So what's so bad about GMOs? Well, for starters, health consequences of GMOs are largely unknown due to the lack of long-term effect studies. Also, GMOs do not have to be labeled in US stores, so you really have no idea which foods have them and which ones don't. Plants are similar to dogs in the way that purebred dogs have greater health problems than mutts. GMO plants have reduced genetic diversity. When the genes are more diverse, they are more robust and can withstand drought, fungus invasions, or insects much better than ones that are less genetically diverse. GMOs are not the answer for global food security. They show no increase in yield and no decrease in pesticide use. In fact, they require mass amounts of pesticides, herbicides, and fungicides, which are poisons that should not be eaten or allowed to run into water supply, but they do. There have been few studies conducted on GMOs, but the studies don't look so good. Organs of rats who ate genetically modified potatoes showed signs of chronic wasting, and females fed a herbicide-resistant soybean gave birth to stunted and sterile pups. Monsanto sells genetically engineered seeds to farmers and then prohibits them from selling the next generation seeds and replacing them. The company sues those who violate the etiquette for patent infringement. The Center of Food Safety calculates a collection of $23.5 million from patent infringement lawsuits favoring Monsanto in 2012. This means that seeds need to be bought every year just for farmers to keep their crops growing. Monsanto currently owns 90% of the seed supply out there, so they control the distribution, costs, and etc. These are the most commonly planted GMOs in the United States. 90% of all beef, which produce 59% of all of our sugar. Over 90% of canola oil. 90% of cotton. 94% of all soybeans. And 88% of all our corn. This map shows all of the companies in the US who use GMOs in their food. The Federal Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act requires the FDA to prevent consumer deception by clarifying that a food label is misleading if it omits significant material information. In 1992, the FDA issued a statement defining material as ability to be sensed by taste, smell, or other senses. Genetically engineered foods have no material difference, and 20 years later, the policy is still in effect. 6 million voters scared Monsanto by trying to pass the first statewide mandatory labeling law for GMOs. Unfortunately, Obama recently signed against this law. There's a reason why Monsanto is so popular in the United States. Former Monsanto employees are firmly entrenched in federal positions such as the United States FDA, the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, and even positions such as the Supreme Court. And this strategy really works. There have been a number of former Monsanto workers who have been given jobs in the FDA and other regulatory agencies that monitor Monsanto's products. For example, an FDA official who chose not to label Monsanto's milk was Michael Taylor. Now Taylor is in the Obama administration in charge of food safety. This company uses massive amounts of pesticides and herbicides. In recent studies, one or more pesticides were detected more than 90% of the time in major rivers or streams in the U.S. Pesticides have been identified as one of the potential causes of amphibian and pollinator deformities and declines, and have been proven to kill other species as well. Also, engineered genes have a bad habit of turning up in non-genetically engineered crops. Farmers and customers pay a high price when this happens. Monsanto contributes little to helping the world feed itself and has failed to endorse science-based solutions that don't give its product the central role. Monsanto's single-minded emphasis on genetically modified organisms makes it more challenging to develop cheaper, more effective solutions. By suppressing research on products, Monsanto makes it harder for farmers and policymakers to make informed decisions leading to a more sustainable agriculture. Monsanto also outspends all other agribusinesses on efforts to persuade congressmen and the public to maintain industrial agriculture status quo. This gives local farmers no chance against this huge corporation. If you want to help fight against this large corporation, try to avoid genetically engineered foods. Look for the USDA certified organic, because the USDA organic standards prohibit the use of GMOs. Try to avoid processed foods as much as possible, because these are usually high in GMOs. Support your local farmers. This will not only help fight against Monsanto, but it will also help people who need the money more than the huge corporation, and it will cut down on carbon dioxide emissions due to transporting. You can also use non-GMO seeds in your garden for healthier and fresher produce. This will also give you seeds that you can replant each year without having to worry about getting sued. I like to support my local farmers, such as George Schenk, the creator of American Flatbread, because in the end, Monsanto is just a large corporation that we can't trust because we really don't know what's going on behind the closed doors. If we focus towards local farms, we are not only helping our own health, we are also helping the environment and the local farms who need the money. Hopefully, in the near future, we can get labels or even restrictions on GMOs in the U.S. to fight against Monsanto and other large companies.
I'm a man of wealth and taste. I've been around for a long